again, misclick. Hello, this is one part of Team Screaming activity, and we have returned to the grim, dark future of 41st millennia. Last time, we picked up a Navigator to join our crew. So, from now on, we can get into the warp. We got Cassia to join us. And we could maybe leave this system, jump away, but we still lack, well, Ancient Seer Prime, and we need to find an Inquisitor. So, on that matter, we are heading for this unexplored planet, Ricardphilia, that is a prison planetoid. We could maybe find the Inquisitor or Ancient Seer there. Let's see. Lord Captain, there is some commotion on the officer's deck. The Lady Navigator has left her quarters and is currently in the wardroom, where uninitiated crew members are shunning her in terror. Perhaps you should find out what has brought Cassia on the deck. So we will get to know our Navigator a wee bit better. Good to know. Back to the upper decks we go.
Lord Captain, my apologies. I did not notice your entrance.
We have some voice acting. I don't have to go overboard. Let's see. So, I see you from the reading. So, it pleases me to see you adjusting to life aboard the ship.
Compared to Eurac V, your ship is a boundless world of unfamiliar hues. And yet, the abundance of bright colors can at times be wearisome on the eyes. The bridge and the decks are so clamorous. In my search for a place of quiet, I was fortunate to come upon this islet of serenity filled with rare tomes and practically devoid of color.
The events that took place on Eurac V must have shaken you greatly. Are you well?
One should not underestimate the navigators of House Orselio, Lord Captain. Like a shawl of pale smoke, a faint malaise hangs upon my shoulders, but it will not be the slightest hindrance to my duty to humanity, and my duty to you.
Cassia's response is reserved and pointedly decorous, clearly intended to create a distance between you. Alright, so she wants to create a distance. Well, let's ask most of the questions. So, you only attendant is your valet from Eurac V. Do my servants not measure up to your standards?
No, it is not that at all, Lord Captain. It is just that Uwe is quite capable of carrying out his duties by himself. He is well accustomed to my whims and preferences.
Cassia cringes ever so slightly, adjusts the adornment on her forehead, then awkwardly hides her clawed fingers in the folds of her clothes. The unnatural appearance of navigators often become the topic of gossip among lowly servants and officers alike. It is unsurprising, then, that Cassia prefers the company of one who is used to how she looks. Well, that is fair enough. So, I hope that you have had ample time to calm yourself and your powers.
There are people on this ship who are far more impulsive and dangerous to others, and far less devoted to the God Emperor than a herald of the Navis nobility. But I did not need your words to see the shades of umber unease that whirl around your subjects whenever I am near. Were I not acquainted with such a reaction, I could have found their behavior in your question just now insulting.
That's more a question, but fair enough. I see you are fond of reading.
Oh, this. I found this fascinating read on one of the shelves. And I must say, it has caught my eye. Its every chapter is written in verse. I find it so beautiful and enrapturing. Eurac V had a vast archive of its own, of course. Although most of the works within had to do with scholarly disciplines of some sort or another. Only in my sparse moments of respite was I allowed to escape into the pages of more embellished works.
Cassia gently brushes the dust off the cover with her thin clawed hand, her eyes filled with longing after reminiscing about her lost home. So yeah, it's Navis Nobilite, not Navis Nobilite. Oh well, fair enough.
Lord Captain, would you kindly explain to me why you are pestering me with these questions? Inquiring about my mood and my needs, showing an interest in the books I am enjoying. You are behaving as if you possessed a shred of fellow feeling for one such as I. I beg your pardon, Lord Captain. That was no way for a navigator to conduct herself.
Let's go with the first one, I guess. You have nothing to apologize for. Human emotions are natural, be they good or bad. It is just as natural to share them with others.
Please forgive me. I cannot even understand myself right now. Your words and attention have reminded me of life on the station, of Theobald and Felek. I do not understand. They were merely the keepers of Eurac V. So, why do memories of those two make me feel a strange heaviness here?
She places a hand on her breastplate.
At the same time, I find myself overwhelmed with new excitement and anticipation. At last, I have set foot outside my familiar walls and into a world that I have only seen before in the pages of books. Your ship alone is a treasure trove of remarkable artifacts and curiosities. And just imagine the things that await beyond, but... my delight must seem childish to you, surely. In your heart, you must be finding all this quite amusing.
Sorry about that. Some of my neighbors are, well, having fireworks. And Mike caught them. They were loud enough, weirdly enough. Even with all the filtering applied to it. Happens, I guess. Okay, so I understand what you're going through. My own life was turned upside down not too long ago.
Indeed. I did not know. That is to say, I could not have known, as it is the first time we are speaking in a circumstance so private. My word, when I found this place, it was so full of officers. Why did they all leave?
I do not tolerate idlers on this ship, and my officers know it well.
Then, I must take my leave as well. I am due to inspect the Sanctum Navis after the communion ritual and prepare the chamber for the upcoming warp jump. Thank you for your company.
This went okay. Or good. And we were just thrown away, so I guess they don't have a cutscene of her leaving, because we were just heated into the darkness of the 41st millennia. Let's return to the bridge. As we are on the bridge, I don't know if we'll be sent straight to the system map. Let's see. If we will be on the bridge, we will have a talk with our companions. We finally have the chance and the time. We're not pressed for it. And yes, we are right on a bridge. And there's Abelard. So we can
Lord Captain.
have a conversation with him. Indeed, we are Lord Captain. Let's talk about things that might be useful to me as the rogue trader.
A noble aspiration, Lord Captain. I am ready to acquaint you with all the particulars that interest you.
Outline the situation in Cronus Expanse for me. What do I need to know and keep in mind?
This is a topic for an official briefing, not a casual conversation. But I will try to answer succinctly. And if you permit, in my own words, the Cronus Expanse is considerably removed from the heart of the Imperium. This means that local warp routes become useless within months. Established pathways are regularly subject to attacks from all kinds of rabble. And in the only major port, the Imperium's frigates find themselves moored alongside pirate vessels. Until recently, the Cronus Expanse could hardly have been called a region of the Imperium. The situation has changed with the arrival of the Lord Inquisitor, but not by much. This place operates under its own rules, you see. More radical, so to speak. But ones that allow for a non-standard approach where there is a promise of victory. The Cronus Expanse is considered rogue trader territory for a reason. Only rogue traders have sufficient military might, audacity, and the rights granted them by the warrant to survive the leap into the unexplored part of the Expanse. And in the event of a successful outcome, to hold on to whatever they manage to capture on the frontier.
Yes, it's all about that audacity. So, who are the main players I need to be aware of in Cronus Expanse?
In the first instance, you should treat official representatives of the Imperium with respect. The Expanse may be on the fringes, but it still numbers among the territories of the Golden Throne. The arrival of the Lord Inquisitor has turned the Cronus Expanse into a less wild and uncontrolled region, to the regret of some individuals who had grown inured to the local lawlessness. Rogue traders such as yourself are also servants of the Imperium. They have been accorded special rights and powers. They wield immense authority within their territory, and they enjoy absolute respect in other parts of the Expanse. The most powerful of them are Caligos Winterscale and Incendia Bastal Chorda. Tread carefully when dealing with either of them. If we are to speak of unclaimed territory, which is what Footfall is, among the scum that dwells on that handful of asteroids, there are 3 factions that wield considerable influence in the sector. The first is the Kazbala Commission, organized crime in its most primitive form. It holds sway over the Liege of Footfall, and has links to rogue trader Winterscale. The second faction is an offshoot of our shining ecclesiarchy, followers of St. Drusus. They are actively building their forces, and hold influence over rogue trader Chorda. And finally, the third faction, the Explorators, a wing of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are willing to die and kill for the secrets of the ancient technological heresies that are hidden among the stars of the Cronus Expanse.
Conrad, our previous Master of Whispers, what can you tell me about his betrayal? What do you think he'll do next?
You know, Lord Captain, I am no admirer of fine art. But when we next find ourselves in a civilized port, with time to spare, I will promptly find an artist and commission a portrait of the individual to whom you refer, with a hole between the eyes. Conrad Voigtveer. That he committed his treachery and escaped with his life was an unforgivable oversight. We both served Lord Captain Theodora for many years, and we never saw eye to eye. He was brash. He was never afraid of assuming responsibility, and he willingly took on difficult tasks. I am loath to admit it, but the Von Velatius Protectorate continues to reap the fruits of his labors to this day. His service always garnered my respect. But everything else about him made me want to wring the neck of that two-faced snake. If you are taking comfort in the thought that we will hear no more of Conrad, prepare to be disappointed. You thwarted his plans, his meticulously plotted and nurtured treachery. He is sure to attempt to strike at you, and he will use his contacts and knowledge of the Protectorate to do so. The only question, Lord Captain, is whether you will be able to anticipate his next steps.
Well, that's all for now.
As you wish, Lord Captain.
And then we would most definitely like to know more about our Seneschal, so I'd like to know more about my Seneschal.
As you wish, Lord Captain. What would you like to know?
Tell me about yourself. What were you before you became Theodora's Seneschal?
I used to be an officer in the Navis Imperialis. No, used to be is not quite right. It was not simply a job. It was my calling, the essence of my life. I was proud to serve Lord Captain Theodora, but in my heart and mind, I am still an officer of the Imperium. I met Lord Captain Theodora on a mission where the Imperial Navy was providing reinforcement to the rogue traders' army on one of the frontier worlds. Our acquaintance was not easy. Working with people outside the Navy hierarchy has never been my strong suit. It was to my great surprise then, that after the mission's completion, I received a referral to leave my service in the Navy and join the rogue traders' personal council. It was a difficult choice for me, but I saw in the offer a chance to serve the interests of humanity even more effectively than in the Navis Imperialis. You do not need me to tell you just how remarkable a person Lord Captain Theodora was. I recognized her at once as a true leader and formidable creative force. One who had built a protectorate amidst the dangers and wildness of the Expanse.
Leaving the Imperial Navy is far from easy. Why were you permitted to quit your post?
You could say there was no one among the naval command who was willing to impede the wishes of the rogue trader. To do so would be to risk their own position and their relationship with Theodora. The Lord Captain possessed certain contacts in the Imperial Navy. Contacts which she used to request help during the conflict on the border world. And which enabled her to make me an offer that resulted in my joining her retinue. The Navis Imperialis is an ancient institution with its own mandates and muster lists. On occasion, in the heat of an official briefing, or an informal discussion, I violated those rules, determined to press my point. It is challenging to choose the words to accurately express my opinion on a situation or the actions of others that do not sound overly scathing or confrontational. Many in command were inclined to view my manner of speaking as unbefitting a person of my rank.
Huh? So he liked to speak his mind. The way you talk about Theodora, I'm beginning to think you were in love with her.
What? Lord Captain, any allegations of improper feelings or unsanctioned relations are utterly baseless and bordering on the insulting. Utterly baseless.
He's way too defensive about that. But yeah, do you have a family?
I am a widower. I am a father of 4, and if my information is not outdated, a grandfather of 11. My family lives on Dargonus. None of my children express any eagerness or aptitude for serving aboard ship, and I would hardly have insisted that they follow in my footsteps.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Of course.
I must take my leave. Until next time, Seneschal.
Lord Captain.
Okay, so we learned more about Abelard, but that is not all of our crew. There is still our Vox Master with us. A thin, pale woman stands out among the rest of the crew. There is a thick bundle of cables coming out of the back of her skull and disappearing under her ceremonial garment. Then you see the grate of quietly humming wax where her mouth should be. The woman sees you and bows her head in a respectful greeting. How may I serve you, Lord Captain? Let's go with the 4th one. It's a fellowship test, which we can pass with the flying colors. Connect me to the vessel's main channel. I wish to bolster the morale of my crew. The Vox Master nods obediently and presses several switches on the device she is holding. It is done, Lord Captain. You address the crew with a rousing speech and hear your voice roll through the ship, reaching even the normally quiet corners of the vessel. When the broadcast ends, you hear distant shouts of approval. Well, we know who she is. She's our Vox Master. Vigdis... what was it? Toliman. I think that was her family name. No, clan name, sorry. Let's ask her about her duties. What are the Vox Master's duties? I am the ears and the voice of the void ship. I supervise several dozen officers and 3 times that number of support personnel. We receive, send, encrypt and decode all incoming and outgoing messages through the ship's internal and external channels. And we also ensure clean communications and optimal efficiency of the crew's Voxcasters. If you ever want to know what worries and concerns your crew are harboring, what your subjects are whispering about in local networks after their watches, and what their leaders are clamoring about over shortwave Vox transmissions, just come and see me. I will satisfy your curiosity. So she's our spy aboard the ship. She's our ever-vigilant eye in the wall, our ear in the ceiling. Interesting. So, and now let's be quite rude. Why do you look so strange? My appearance comes from my heritage. Generation after generation of my people who spend their entire lives in the depths of void ship. Neither we nor our ancestors have ever left our home, but the same can be said about many denizens of the Imperium's million worlds. We are used to the silence of the cosmos and voices of the ship. There are thousands of us, but we dwell far from Lord Captain's upper decks and remain unseen. We are the Voidborn. So yeah, Voidborn, people who are born on ships and live their whole life on void ships, void stations, and most likely never, ever go planetside. Or reach planetside for that matter. So, where does the word Voidborn come from? Because we are children born in a void between the stars, be it womb of traveling vessel, an orbital satellite, or a forgotten asteroid station, low-gravity voyages through the warp and the countless dangers of space travel. Everything others hate and dread is second nature to us. So, we could say that they are hell denizens light. Because traveling through the void is basically yeeting your ship into the hell and seeing if you can get out on the other side. Tell me about the lives of the Voidborn in my crew. To us, the groans, creaks, and murmurs of the ship sound the way babbling brooks and singing birds do to the world dwellers. We hear the ship breathe, know what it is feeling and thinking. We are part of the ship, just like it is part of us. We perform numerous functions, and there are many officers among our number. Some maintain order and prevent mutiny, others serve as shepherds and support the crew, and some devote themselves to mending the body and spirit of the vessel. Most of the Voidborn are members of large void ship dynasties that bear responsibility for certain aspects of the ship's life. For 300 years, the main branch of Toliman dynasty has produced the ship's Vox Masters, and most of our subordinates come from the cadet house of the dynasty. How do you find life on this ship? Life has been quite generous to me, Lord Captain. I'm the Vox Master, and only the best in a dynasty can become one. By virtue of my skill and position, no one has ever denied me anything. Our family claims a spacious section for its demesne. I also enjoy long walks through the narrow and dimly lit corridors of the ship, listening to the sounds for her activity, falling asleep and waking up to the chanting of hymns, and admiring the stars beyond, of course. How do the others on the ship treat you? We look, speak and move differently from the inhabitants of the planetary worlds. Our way of life, traditions and quirks frighten these people, just like the darkness of the cosmos. Many believe us to be the bringers of ill fortune, but alas, it is the Voidborn who get the blame for terrible warp phenomena during longer voyages.
Vigdis hesitates before continuing.
Several years ago, an unfortunate warm jump caused all the food on board to spoil. 15 days later, a hungry and furious crew nearly massacred everyone on the lower decks, blaming us for the misfortune and hoping to restock the ladders with our flesh. I would have been killed during the mutiny had Idira Tlass not shown up in the right place at the right time. She came to my rescue, and the scoundrels' fear of her was even greater than their fear of Voidborn. Well, of course, she's a psyker. Unsanctioned at that. Looks like you are close friends with Idira. Wink wink, nudge nudge, but I don't know. Most likely they are.
Webs of tiny wrinkles appear at the corners of Vigdis' eyes. The only hint that the Vox Master is smiling.
The Voidborn seldom make friends, especially among the captain's entourage. But you see, many consider Idira to be different. I am different too. We have spent plenty of time in each other's company, discussing regicide over a glass of Amasak.
Yeah,
so alcohol and chess. They have been drinking booze and playing chess. I need a second. And I am back. Except Idira change after one incident, and we started to drift apart. The death of Lord Captain Theodora made her withdraw even more. I do not know if Idira considers me her friend now, but we used to be very, very close. It is good I can still look after her in my own way. There. Let me just do another thing that came up. Oh. There.
Interpreting the Vox Master's emotions based on half a face and a Vox modulated voice is not an easy task, but you manage to catch the undercurrent in Vigdis' words. The Vox Master is not merely saddened by her rift with Idira, she is devastated by it.
Have you ever left the ship? Oh, I did once, and it was dreadful. It felt like the massive blue dome overhead could shatter at any moment and fall, and my bones would be crushed by the gravity.
Vigdis twitches her shoulders, trying to ward off the flood of memories.
The ship is my home, Lord Captain, and I would not trade it even for the bounty of 100 worlds. I see. Let us return to business. That was a bit gruff. And that will be all for now. Live to serve, Lord Captain. I live to serve. Yeah, now. We should... Oh. We should talk to our High Factorum and get to know him a wee bit better, but... Oh, that's a hiccup. We should talk to Idira as well. She might have something interesting to tell to us.
The tall, middle-aged woman stares straight ahead, her eyes vacant as she rubs the implant on her temple. Her collar is undone and one of the clasps is on the verge of falling off. Sensing your presence, Idira turns her head toward you. and offers you a crooked smile, even as her eyes look right through you. So, let's ask Idira about her psycho abilities. Idira, about your abilities.
What are you talking about, Lord Captain?
You are up. So, what do we have here? So, the first one is about if she's been to Terra. Control. I'm burned about my crew. Okay, let's ask about Terra. But she's on. We know that she's unsanctioned psyker, so she most likely have never been to Terra. But might as well ask. You're a psyker. Psykers are only granted the right to live with the Emperor's blessing. Have you ever been to Terra?
Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some eggheads measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your gut, if it's rotten or not. My gut's stronger than the adamantine on this here ship. And my implants are better than the ones they put in you on your Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have.
Idira bares her teeth in a savage grin, a febrile gleam in her eyes. What is febrile? I will have to look it up. Where do you come from?
Lyra, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. In the Coronis Expanse, the deeper you go, the less visible the Astronomicon gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best.
Yeah, so the Astronomicon is the light in hell, from which the Navigators can, create maps, sort of, for warp jumps. Basically, they can create warp travel routes if they know where the Astronomicon is. They can see it in a warp as a light, where thousands of psychers are fed to it every day just to power it. Okay, let's go and talk about... Tell me about Lyra.
It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. On Lyra, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. But they use everything they can to win, from poison to psychers. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me. But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady von Valancius than I'd seen in my whole life on Lyra. Like my first journey through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. I only found out later that I'd gotten off easy. Just through the bulkhead, in the bay next to mine, a whole team turned into... Look at me rambling on, Lord Captain. Pay no attention.
Knowing that she's a psyker, most likely something really, really bad happened to the team on the next bulkhead. No, through the bulkhead in the next bay, yeah. Let's not ask about it. It might be gruesome. What did you do before you came to be on this ship?
Oh, I embroidered wall hangings in honor of our national heroes. I did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain. Divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on Lyra.
Yeah, it seems that something stuck in my throat. That a bit of a, well, not coughing, but scratching on my part. So yeah, I do apologize for extra noise on the mic.
There's no such thing as a peaceful life on Lyra. People like me were especially sought after. They'd pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them. Take me, for instance. I got taken from my street gang. The older kids sold me when they noticed there was something off about me. The ruling dynasties had schools where they trained us and beat us black and blue. And then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time.
Idira looks at you expectantly. Then, a thought. As though clarifying, she uses her hands to indicate a head exploding and laughs. Oh, so how did you end up in Rogue Trader's service?
Theodora von Valances paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I don't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too. As I gawked at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more. But I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the wardens dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up. No wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered the guards. Also, I could tell them my warning in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life. And so I entered the service of the Von Valances dynasty.
Have you ever been off the ship?
A few times. Not many. And if I think about it, why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares off the ship, I can. After some Amisec. But don't go getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy.
Let's talk about something else.
Of course, Lord Captain.
I don't know if we want to ask her everything. But we should ask her about an augury, right? I'd like to hear your augury, Idira. What awaits me in the future?
All right. Let's hear what they're whispering about you.
Idira laughs, rubs her hands together, and suddenly freezes with a vacant smile on her face. Her head slightly tilted. You feel goosebumps appear on your skin, and your collar begins to waver ever so slightly, as if moved by a breeze from half-open door.
Among the blind men and false prophets, a red-robed sage seeks the answer to a question. He does not know that it is not the answer he must seek, but the question that will draw everything into focus. Will you help him, Rogue Trader? But mark that sometimes ignorance is sweeter than oblivion.
Okay, so she's talking about red-robed sage, and, well, the only red-robed sages we know about in Warhammer are from, well, are the Tech Priests of Mars. So, most likely, that is the Adeptus Mechanicus priest. Oh, well, what was it? Ancient Seer Prime we're looking for. And we might as well help him. He's the person is looking for... No, he's seeking answers. But the question will draw everything into focus. Interesting. So, he does not need to know the answer, but he needs to know the question.
A chained hound chases after glimmers of the aurora, but sparks in the scent of oil confound his nose. A chain trails after him. What will happen if you pick it up? Will you become his mistress? Or merely another beast in the pack of his true lord?
Well, we only know about one hound that we're looking for. And that is... well... this Inquisitor's pup. The interrogator of the Inquisition. What was it? Henrix von Kellogg's? So this is a... well, story about him, and maybe if we can sway him from following his master Inquisitor, or maybe we can become the Inquisitor's puppet as well. Well, we shall see. We shall see.
The glow of dawn burst forth from its prison. Dungeon walls cannot contain the dark essence wallowing in the dust. A naive cub pushes his nose into a familiar hand, one that holds death in twisted glass. Cherish it or cast it off as a burden. The sword of change has already been raised. What is one more life to it?
Interesting. I don't know. But most likely this is talking about something that we have not yet done. It might be something in this very system. We'll see.
I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now...
The Psyche shrugs sheepishly and sniffs.
Alright, we have asked her everything we would like to know, so let's take our leave.
Of course. Always...
And, well, be done with it. So, this episode will be on the short end, and next time we will continue with interrogating our crew. We still have to talk with our High Factorum. There is as well our captain. I think he is somewhere here. Not the captain, but a helmsman. And then Argenta. We can still ask her some questions. And Cassia, we should ask her about her, well, House Ocelio. Or maybe some personal questions about her and Navigators in general, so we gain more information. After that, we will continue with our voyage through the void. So, for now, I have to say goodbye. This has been Team Screaming Activity, and see you next time. Bye.